This video is in response to a question that was posted under the video on why women should not talk so much, that was put up the other day. An individual wanted to know, how did this fit in with transparency in a relationship, which is often promoted as how we are supposed to be? And I have an answer to that. It was too long to type, and a little bit complex. So I thought it would be better explained in a video where I'd have more time. So, okay, let's start with, what does transparency in a relationship actually mean? Well, to me, it means that you can see right through the person, that there's a clear path into their heart, into their emotional state, into their mind, into their needs, wants, desires. Everything is there for you to see. Nothing's hidden. There's no secret undercover agenda. They're not playing any games. There's no pretense. Just 100% honesty and 100% full frontal truth. Romantic people call this having genuine intimacy. Now, I have to admit, that this is really the only way to truly be known by another person. You have to take the risk, the calculated risk, to let someone in and to be who and what you really are. However, in our current society, that is a ridiculous risk to take unless that you've spent enough time around that person and put them through enough vetting to really know if there's someone that you can be emotionally vulnerable and open and transparent with. See, because the fear is there. I can't deny that the reality is that we're in a dating climate now where there's just a lot of emotional and mental illness. I don't know any other kind of way to put it. People are preying on others. We look at what's going on with online dating, and it's very obvious that there's a lot of predators online. So this is a reality we cannot ignore. There's identity theft, all kind of weird stuff going on. So what I would say is that, there's nothing wrong with being afraid. There's nothing wrong with being afraid of being rejected. It's nothing to be concerned about kind of holding back a little bit and being careful about being judged and ridiculed and mocked and taunted. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you're with the right kind of guy, you're going to feel very light and free and open like you never have before, if you're in a situation where you can really trust him and be vulnerable and transparent with him. But if you find out that the guy that you trusted is not worthy and not genuine and not really worthy of your trust and openness, you are going to be in a serious world of trouble, and you are going to be faced with a real serious crash and burn. What kind of fantasies do women have about relationships and men that would lead them to be overly vulnerable? I have to remind you, ladies, it takes time, sometimes years, to really get to know somebody and to allow yourself the space to really develop a deep trust that this guy is who and what he says he is. And then you can, let your guard down. The problem that I keep running into is that most women are fed these happily ever after fairy stories about falling in love with somebody at first sight, and it's like a movie, and birds buzz and birds sing and bees buzz and rainbows appear, and it's just all magical and wonderful. So you imagine that you're going to be like Cinderella. You're going to find your prince, or it's going to be your knight in shining armor, and he's going to fight off all your woes and your enemies, and he's going to valiantly keep you safe and secure. But see, we have to look at what's really out here in the dating world. And what's out here is a lot of narcissists. Knowing this, these guys, knowing this, like how you guys like to think about you ladies rather like to think about your relationship, they come in the door being super nice, and you might even hear them say stuff like, "Oh, I'm a nice guy. I'm not like the other men that you've been with. I'm not like these other dudes out here." Or they'll say stuff like, "Oh, everybody thinks I'm just too nice, and women have said I'm too nice in the past." Or they'll say, "I'm a great person. You can trust me. You can tell me anything," right? They make it seem like that they're really genuinely, that they're a genuine person, that they can really truly care about you. And some of them come in and being very generous, and they're interesting, and they're fun to be with, and they make you laugh. And you think, damn, I done hit the jackpot. This guy is great. He is like everything I've been looking for. But understand, this is part of his seduction routine. And they feed into your fantasies because that's what they know you want to hear. One of the popular phrases these days is love bombing. So if your fantasy, he's Mr. Magic in your fantasies, and he cares about all your struggles. So you sitting up there believing that, and you spill your guts, and you're gonna imagine that he's gonna fall magically in love with you, and he's gonna step in and heal your wounds and mend your broken heart, and you all gonna live happily ever after. In your fantasy, he says, you can tell me anything. Don't shoulder your burdens alone. I'm here for you always. Just tell me what you need, baby. I'll take care of it. I'm your man. He's going to hit you with all that kind of stuff. And then you fall for it. Though he hasn't really done anything to prove that he's that kind of guy. I mean, it does sound good, I have to admit. And, we want to believe the men that come into our lives. We want to believe that who and what he says, who he is presenting himself to be is who he truly, really is. But unfortunately, reality, it never quite works out the way that we want it to. So what are the pros and cons and risks and dangers of transparency? I kind of hit on them a little bit, but let's go into a little bit more detail. I think women need to spend more time vetting men. Putting them through their paces, testing them, asking them some really hard questions that a lot of you just don't seem to be comfortable asking. You have to carefully choose who you allow yourself to be transparent with, ladies. You just can't go through life willy-nilly, just bearing your soul to every guy just because he asks you to. You have to stop focusing on stuff like how much he likes you, and instead focus on these things. These things are really important before you start deciding that this is somebody that you can be transparent with. Because I want to make sure everybody understands. I'm not saying don't be. I'm saying spend the time on the front side assessing and determining if this man is worthy of you bearing your soul like that. Can he be trusted with your vulnerable secrets and things? Because you go in just blindly trusting him and telling him all this kind of stuff, you're gonna be very, very sorry. So let's think of let's go over some of these questions that I think you should be asking yourself before you start spilling your guts. Like, has this guy over time, right? Remember, you got to spend time with him. It's not going to be apparent right off the bat because he's showing you his representative. Has this guy over time proven that I can trust him with my deepest fears and my deepest feelings? Number 2, does he show sincere interest in me and what my dreams and goals and problems are? Not just lip service, I mean really listening to where he can recall it later. Does he really listen to you when you share these things with him? Or does he somehow turn the conversation around to talk about himself? For example, you talking about your problem. Well, he had one that was worse, or he knew somebody who had it worse, and you shouldn't really be saying too much because your problem's not that bad. Does he remember what you say? A lot of women report having to tell their man the same thing 4, 5, 6 times because he claims he forgot. That means he's not really hearing you. Or else he has too many other women to remember stuff and he's scared to say anything because he might be giving you the wrong information. Sometimes it's that too. You have to also ask yourself, do I want to be transparent voluntarily and willingly? Is this something that I feel really comfortable doing, or is this something that he's demanding from me before I'm comfortable doing it? Because some of them, they say, well, you can tell me anything, but then you don't tell them, right? Well, you don't ever tell me nothing. You just be keeping secrets. You so closed off. That's why nobody want to be with you. They start going down that road. And another one is, you need to ask yourself, okay, so he's, if he is asking you to be open with him and, he keeps asking you need to sit back and ask yourself, okay, well, why is he demanding transparency from me? What is his end game? This is very important. This is where it gets interesting and where you need to slow down and start thinking hard. If the answer to any of the questions I just posed above is, well, I'm not sure yet, I don't know, maybe, well, kinda, well, sometimes, or even a solid no, because you really don't know him, then, honey, no matter what other qualities he has, no matter how else you guys get along, no matter what your friends and family think about how wonderful he is and what a catch he is and all this kind of stuff, if your answers to those questions that I set out above are doubtful, nothing concrete, then it would be impossible for you to create a mutually transparent relationship with this guy. It's got to be mutual, where you both are taking risks, and you're both opening yourself up. Now let's talk about how narcs will use transparency as a weapon. See, this is why I didn't want to answer the question that was posed on the wall just off the top of my head, because there's just too many variables here. And I wanted to be able to have the time to go over them with you in detail so that you guys would understand my answer. Okay, so let's talk about narcs for a minute. I think the major difference in the types of men that you're going to run out here while you're in the dating world is that a very large, unfortunate percent of men these days are likely to display narcissistic traits. Am I going to claim them to be a narcissist? No, I am not. I am not able to diagnose anyone. I'm just going to say they have the traits that are in the textbook that are listed under the diagnosis of narcissism. They have a lot of those traits. So we're just going to use that term, narcissistic traits. Okay, so first, somebody with these traits may look like just a normal dude, right? You're not going to really know, because they communicate well, they share ideas, they share their opinions, they share their experiences, and they share other information, about themselves and their lives with you. It's just the early stage, what they call a talking to stage, where you're trying to get to really know him, right? So you're trying to know him just like a normal person would, but you got to keep in mind, these dudes aren't normal. Now, we don't expect that people are going to be gaming and all. Well, I do, but normal women don't expect the guy to be coming in, gaming and trying to trick them and everything. But you got to remember that narcs are not normal people. They don't operate like normal people. They don't think like normal people. Nothing that they do is normal. Okay, they're going to come off as, being perfect and wonderful and your soulmate and everything you was looking for and all of that, especially when they come in the door love bombing you with all that attention and flattery that a lot of you really get off on. But, a normal woman believing that this guy is being, he's being real, you aren't really expecting to see an undercover wolf in sheep's clothing. So you take him at face value and you start volunteering information about yourself so that he can get to know you, right? Because you think he's giving you information that's going to let you know him. But when you really think about it, narcissists are really good at disguising who and what they really are. That's why if you spend much time that's why if you spend much time on this channel, you will understand why I focus so much on trying to educate women about this kind of stuff, so that you know how to screen these guys and get them out of your way, out of your life as quickly as possible. One thing I don't want you to do is put yourself in a position where you're exposing who and what you are. You're all volunteering all kind of information about yourself, thinking that he's getting to know you, but he's not doing the same. He's not doing the same. You may notice, if you really look at their conversation, it's pretty, it's entertaining. Don't get me wrong, it's entertaining. You're going to sit there and be very entertained. You're going to laugh with them. They're going to talk about places and things that happening and things that they've read and other people, and they're going to talk about work and kind of work they did in the past or the work they're doing now, and they're going to talk about their baby mama drama, their ratchet parents, their ratchet siblings. They're going to be talking about people who they know who died and all that kind of stuff. They may say a lot of things that are funny. They'll have you laughing. They'll say a lot of romantic things that'll make you blush and your heart go pitter patter. And some of them come in and they be saying cringy, overly eggplanty things that are inappropriate, that make you roll your eyes or whatever. But few of you will dump them for that. You just kind of tell them, well, don't do that, don't talk like that or whatever. And then you keep on with the relationship. But to me, he's already showed his true colors. But so many women just try to ignore that. But, and bottom line is, when these guys are talking like that, there's just no depth to their conversation. It's all surface stuff. You're getting a lot of words, but you're not really getting to know him. You never hear how he feels about anything. You never hear about what hurt him. You never hear about what embarrassed him. You never hear about, when he cried and what he lost and that kind of stuff. The kind of things that are very meaningful when you're trying to figure out where somebody is in life and what's motivating them to go the next step. Everything he tells you is superficial surface stuff. He's not going to make himself vulnerable to you or anybody else. Just not going to do it. They must at all times stay in control. They are super terrified of losing control. So they're going to stay in control of themselves, try to get in control of you, so they always have an upper hand in every situation. He's going to try to stay in a position where he's going to run game on you, so that he's in the power seat, watching you squirm and watching you be yanked around on your marionette strings. And if you should dare to be so silly as to, step out there and be transparent with somebody who's a narcissist, you're going to suffer. Sometimes women suffer for years, decades even, but you're going to suffer. He's going to make sure of it. It's basically, when he's getting information from you in the beginning, it's for part of his seduction routine. He's going to appeal to your ego by, praising you and flattering you, and he's going to convince you that you two are soulmates. All the information that he's getting from you, though, is going to inevitably be used against you. And now that they have all this inside knowledge of you, they're going to go from building you up with the flattery and compliments and how wonderful you are stuff, to just ripping the tablecloth off from under you and tearing you down in every way imaginable. And they love to use your past to dismiss any complaints that you have about their behavior. Because if you start complaining, right, and they're going, yeah, but what about you? What about when you did such and such a? See, so that's how they do it, and it shuts you down. You need to be real clear about this thing right here. When you're dealing with a narc, any and everything that you say can and will be used against you at some point. Everything. It's just really strange how they do, because you're trying to know somebody, right? You don't know who they are, but you create opportunities looking for dates and time conversations on the phone and stuff, because you're trying to create opportunities to get to know him, right? You want to find out who and what he is. So as part of this, though, you asking him questions, he giving you answers, but you're not really noticing, like I said earlier, how superficial and shallow his responses are. Sometimes they will just dodge the question altogether and flip it around and ask, I don't know, what about you, right? And you don't catch it, because you all excited about you getting this opportunity to meet this new dude, and you all excited. So in order to keep the conversation going, since y'all can't stand silence for even 5 seconds, you start volunteering information about yourself. A normal person would take this information that you give them, and they're going to use it to understand who you are. Just like they're giving you information, and you're going to use it to understand who they are. But with a narcissist, it doesn't work like that. You absolutely cannot reveal certain types of information to them. Because instead of them taking that information and using it to develop the relationship and create a better understanding, better communication, whatever, you get closer, whatever it is that you're trying to do, normal people do in a relationship, they instead file that information away for later. Think about how squirrels collect nuts for the winter. That's what narcissists do with the information that you tell them. They save it, because they're going to pull it out and throw it down like a bomb just when you least expect it. So when you're talking, right, they're going to be looking at you very intently. They're looking at your expressions. They're looking at your eyes. They want to see how your expression changes, because emotions register in little ways on your face. That's why I always advocate that women learn how to play poker. Because if you can keep a poker face and nobody can read what your hand is, then you can do the same thing in dating. And he won't be able to tell what you're thinking or feeling, because you keep your expression the same at all times. It is a necessary skill if you're going to be out here dating. You cannot have your heart on your sleeve and let these dudes know what you're thinking and what hurts you and what excites you and how you're pleased and stuff by the trash he's talking to you. They're going to be looking at your face to see how what they're saying to you lands on you, and how what you're saying to them, how you feel about it. They will be studying you like a bug under a microscope. Why? Because the information that they get from you is going to be used to manipulate and exploit you at some point. At some point, that's their goal. They're going to use this information to guilt trip you, to exploit you for money, to exploit you for material goods, to exploit your time. Their focus is on making you look bad, and sometimes smearing your reputation amongst your peers or family, because their goal at that point is to make themselves feel superior, right? So if like you are together, sister, you got your stuff, you popping, you making money, this and that, you're going to be a target for these kind of guys, because they love to break you down. So even if you say you're 28, 29, 30 years old and you got your stuff popping, they're going to see you and talk to you, well, you know, pretty soon you're going to be 30 and you're going to have hit the wall and this and that. So they have to say something. They have to say something to try to make themselves feel better and to break you down, break you off a piece of your confidence and your self-esteem. That's their number one goal in life, is to hurt you. Sometimes, you know, the women are like, oh my God, you know, why would he do that? What's his, why would he say that? I don't understand. I've never done anything to him, you say. I'm going to tell you, because sometimes they say and do the stuff that they do just for the sheer entertainment. They don't really, you know, really have like any major purpose, like, you know, like an end game goal to it. They're just saying it because they love to see you cry. They love to see you be hurt. I mean, it's entertaining to them. It's like, yeah, if I say this and that to her, it's going to make her crumble. And then they do it just to see if it works. It's just the most bizarre thing. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it, because I've seen too many dudes do this. And they're sitting there staring at the woman while she's just crushed and crumbling. And they just don't, you know, they're laughing about it or smirking or something. They just think it's entertainment. It's entertainment for them. And, you know, the more that they can hit you up, like if you're a real confident girl, the more that they can break your confidence and your self-esteem and see you running around trying to please and appease him instead, oh boy, that is like a major feather on his cap. So, and I want to make sure you understand this, okay? This phrase right here is very important. Narcs don't listen to, they're not listening to, like normal people, they don't listen. People never listen to someone talk. Narcs are listening for. They're listening for a reason. They're listening for information that they can use against you. They're looking for your weaknesses and vulnerabilities. That's what they're doing. They're not trying to listen to you to understand and to show interest and caring and concern, to develop, you know, empathy between you two and pat you up and make you feel better. They're not listening to your complaints to resolve a conflict. No. They only listen for information, data that they can use in some way. Some way is going to be valuable to them. They use the information that you give them as a weapon against you. Because anything that you tell them that's going to help them to better manipulate, exploit, or control you is golden. Okay? I know this is hard, and people are probably listening like, oh my God, this is horrible. But this is the reality of what we're dealing with in our current society. Okay, I'm sorry. This is just how things have deteriorated and come to pass in our current society. Are there exceptions to this? Of course. Everyone doesn't have these narcissistic traits. There's some men might have like a very light bit of it. You check them and then it's gone. But I'm talking about the ones that, you know, until you have that opportunity to get to know him, really watch for these things. Watch for them. Don't ignore them. Don't put your head in a hole and act like, well, he didn't mean it. It's going to go away. You know, oh, he only did it this one time. I'm going to talk to him about it and then he won't do it anymore. You're wasting your time. This is who and what he is. Remember, men come in the door. That's the best you're going to get, is how he comes in the door. If that's on the downhill slippery slope and you already complaining and confused and feeling hurt by stuff he says and does to you, believe me, it's just going to get worse. Okay, that's the time when you throw up the deuces and be out. You know, they don't care. They're only listening and getting information from you and looking at you as something that's going to benefit him in some way. So what kind of things are they listening for specifically? Remember that narcs have an agenda, okay? They have an agenda. You're looking for love and, you know, the happily ever after stuff. They have an agenda that's going to involve what they can get out of you. That's it. What they can do that's going to hurt you. Some of them, you know, what they call malignant narcissists, they're out to hurt people. They want to hurt you, okay? But in most of them, you know, kind of moderate level. I mean, they're not the best partners, but their goal is because they want to get to know your hopes and your dreams and your fears and your regrets and sorrows and what hurt you in childhood and what kind of experiences you had that, you know, that were unkind or unfun memories. They want to know your family history, your health history. They want to know your vulnerabilities. They're basically listening because they want to ferret out all your weaknesses, your lackings, your trauma, your failures, any self-doubt you have, any health or mental or physical or emotional problems that you have. They want to know your past struggles, any sign of weaknesses that you exhibited in prior relationships or with coworkers and kids. And they especially love to hone in on your insecurities. Okay, because a lot of women be insecure about their bodies, their face, their nose, whatever it is. He wants to know about your insecurities. Basically, they're just looking for any information that they can to use against you later, to get something out of you, to control you, or to hurt you. And it all depends on whatever his end game is, which we'll go in a minute. Let me reiterate, because I don't want y'all to forget this. Normal people discuss, narcs collect data. Remember, narcs don't listen to, they listen for. So here you are, you spilling your guts mistakenly and believing that you're giving him the keys to the kingdom. This is going to be your man. This is it. You done hit the jackpot. So you let him in like you've never let anybody in before, right? But narcs love to twist your words around because they want to attack you. Because that gives them the upper hand. You got to keep remembering that's their goal. Control, domination, the upper hand. So they will, they'll take what you say and somehow flip it around and and to try to make themselves be like they're the victim when they're the ones that hurt you. It's the most amazing thing. They tend to have some amazing, like world class in the encyclopedia type of memories. And they can stockpile information about you and people that you tell them about and things you tell them about and pull that information out like a computer. Years later, it's unbelievable. But basically he's just hoarding data. That's what he's doing. He's hoarding data and he's waiting for the opportunity to use it against you in some way because he wants to wreck your self-esteem and your confidence, sabotage your career or any other opportunities that may come your way. He wants to damage your relationship with other people or basically just destroy your life in general so that you only have him to depend on. What tease you about him or put him down as silly or a waste of time or, for black women, it's like, oh, that's some white people mess. That kind of stuff. They're going to put it down and mock you. Or sometimes they may bring them up only to deny giving them to you, which is, again, a way of mocking your needs, right? Yeah, you want me to do such and such. Remember the girl who a couple of weeks ago wrote in about how her boyfriend, she liked Yoo-hoo drinks, and he would buy himself one and then come and tell her, yeah, I bought me a Yoo-hoo and I didn't get you one. That's an example of this. Okay, or so other times, you might share your goals and dreams with him because you're thinking, this is my man. We talking about, where we trying to go and what we going to be doing in the future and all this kind of stuff. He going to find a way to taunt you and mock you about that too. Or he might sabotage him to the point where he, erases a computer file or keeps you up all night arguing so that you, can't study for your test or practice your presentation, that kind of stuff. They're trying to do stuff because they want to make you look less. They want to destroy. They're not trying to build you up. If you confided in them about, If you confided in them about something difficult or painful or something that happened to you that falls under the category of a traumatic experience, they're going to bring it up. They'll weaponize it and use it against you to hurt you again, sometimes more than one time. I discussed this in the video on the Women Who Talk Too Much that I'm going to try to remember to put a link up above so you can just click it and go to it because I talked about that particular thing in pretty good detail. So if you called him out, right, he did some stupid stuff and you called him out or you made him angry from some kind of way because you didn't do what he wanted you to do, he's going to retaliate and he's going to get back at you by, this is what they usually do. They start creating stories or they get their flying monkeys in motion. So people who's on their team, right, to go around and spread dirt about you and, paint you as being the abusive one, or so he can play the victim. Or he's going to call himself telling on you, right, to your family and your friends or your coworkers about stuff that's basically going to slander and sabotage you. Because his goal is, I have to let them know who you really are. And, I want everybody to know how you really treat me because they think you treat me so good, which of course you do. But he's just flipping it around to make himself be painted as the victim. And then if you was really dumb enough to have done something that was a criminal act or something sinful, like, I don't know, you dated a married man in the past, or you did some kind of crook mess and you didn't get caught, but you were stupid and then you told him, girl, you is dumb, because Because, man, as soon as he gets mad at you, that's going to be all over town. He's going to talk about it on social media. He's going to tell all his friends. He's going to let it drop to your family. Yeah, you think she's so great and wonderful and pure and innocent. Let me tell you about her. So he's going to tell it. Again, with the sheer goal of smearing your reputation and making you look bad. Because if he can make you look bad or look worse than him, then in comparison, that elevates his status. You see what I mean? Without him having to do any work to make himself a better person, just by putting you down, it gets to make him look better than you. That would be a huge mistake. And if you told him anything that might make you vulnerable, such as, oh, yeah, I'm thinking about making a career change, or I just made a career change, I just moved, I don't know anybody in this area, like the girl that was on What the Fuck Thursday column. You know, you would have some kind of change in relationship status, like you just got divorced, your husband just died, I don't know, your parents, something that's going to make you vulnerable. You move to an area and you don't have any friends or you don't have any family because everybody, you living by yourself or was raised in foster care or something like that. Anything like that that's going to make you look weak and vulnerable, he's going to attack you like 9,000. And don't have any low self-esteem or some kind of body image issues. Anything that indicates that you have some kind of weakness, girl, that is like pure gold to one of these narc types. They're just rubbing their hands together like Gollum, like, ooh, the precious. That's what they're looking for that. They're going to use that to their benefit, and it's all going to be at your expense. Basically, any kind of information that you give them is fair game. Like with the nurses get this a lot, right? Because they know nurses are caring, nurturing personalities. Doctors more arrogant because they like to think that they're gods, but nurses are the ones that are in the trenches really taking care of the patients and making sure that you get what you need when you're not feeling well. So it takes a certain kind of person with a certain kind of mentality to do that kind of work and to do it well. So if once they find out you're a nurse, man, it's like a target on your forehead. You can forget it. They know that your mission in life is to take care of people, and they're going to try to position themselves to be taken care of. Trust me. And if you let it be known that you have good credit, or you don't mind paying for dates, and you don't mind, you're a modern woman and you pay your share, you even pay for the man sometimes and all this kind of stuff, or you let them know that you were abused or neglected as a child, or some partner abandoned you with the kid, or whatever it is, somebody dogged you out in your past or something like that. They love that. They love it because only a certain type of woman would allow herself to be treated like that over time. You can't stop it from one time, but the fact that you stayed in it and it was your relationship and you let it be known, you can expect part 2 to come right up. And he's going to be looking at you like, well, why are you complaining? You was with so-and-so all that time and you stayed with him, so I don't understand why it's a problem now. And guess what? You won't be able to say nothing because you opened your big mouth and told him that, and so now he's going to use it against you. And another thing that they do is, they come in the door like the fairy godfather. I have a video titled that too, about the fairy godfather routine. They come in thinking, granting all your wishes, right? Making all your dreams come true. They have a real knack for ferreting out what your needs are, what it is that you want, and then they make promises to meet that need. They make promises to fill that gap in your life and to, basically to make whatever it is you want happen, right? But it's basically a promise because they're going to use it for ammo later. So here you are developing trust, and sometimes they might do a couple of lightweight things because it's part of the trap. They want you to feel like, well, yeah, he came through and he said he was going to do this and that, and he did it, but it's some little lightweight stuff, right? So you be all appreciative, and that's what he wants. It's a trap. So you're going to be offered, so he's going to ask you, so say he bought you some ice cream. Well, then he's going to turn around and ask you for $500. And then he's going to say, well, I bought you ice cream when you needed it and you wanted it. Why? And this is what I need, and now you won't come through for me. You see what I mean? It's a setup. They always going to get more out of you than what they gave you trust. That's not how it works. Their generosity is given with an agenda. Always remember that. They're not giving you nothing that doesn't have a hook in it. And what's the best tactic? I say this all the time. Women need to shut up. Stop talking so much. Stop telling men everything. You don't know who you're dealing with when you first meet these clowns. You don't know, you just dealing with his representative, right? He's just putting out what he thinks that you're looking for, what most women will respond to, and he's hiding who and what he really is. You're meeting his representative, who they usually can keep in place for as long as 6 months. So, and you got to remember, like, okay, that's like, a pretty basic dude. But if you got like a seasoned veteran type narky dude, he is going to be like a chameleon. Every woman that he interacts with, he's going to change. And he's going to morph himself into whatever it is that you want him to be, so that he can get whatever it is you got for himself. Whatever ways you can benefit him, a place to stay, your credit, help him buy a vehicle, help him buy a house, whatever it is, he's going to set things in motion so that you think he cares about you, so he can get what you got. That's all his goal is. This is why I tell women, me and my cousin did a video about it, I don't know, probably about 2 years ago or so, maybe longer. And we were debating on that issue about the answering that what you're looking for question. And she was of the mind that you should tell me. And I remain in my position that that's a question you should never answer. You should never answer that. What you're looking for is a setup. So, because he's going to give you exactly what you say, even if he don't mean it, because that's his end game, is to get you to believe that that's who and what he is. And so you'll get, give him the keys to the kingdom, and then he can drive off with all your stuff. So you got to be careful with what information you share and who you share it with. A good approach is to follow and ask yourself, and then what kind of line of questioning. So you got to stop sharing information that could be used to undermine you, to abuse you, or to embarrass you or those that are close to you, like your kids, your parents, your siblings, that kind of stuff. Being open and honest and transparent with a narcissist type personality is a foolish thing to do. If you stop and say, okay, well, if I do this, if I tell him that, if I give him this, then what? 90% of the time you'll get yourself together, and you won't do whatever it was you was getting ready to do while you was all caught up in your emotions. You got to stop, think, and then ask yourself, and then what? And then what? And think about, if you do this move, he's going to do that move, and then this move can happen, and that. And what is that going to benefit you? Again, if the answer is I'm not sure, maybe, possibly, sometimes, or a solid no, then don't do it. Be smart. Learn to zip your mouth. And tell a man, or really even a female friend or a family member, coworker, anybody, proves themselves to be capable of maintaining your boundaries of confidentiality and respectful treatment of the things that you share with them. You should keep your conversations pretty simple and superficial, just like they do. They don't be telling you nothing that sounds good, but when, like I said, you think about it hard, you'll see that it's about superficial, stupid stuff. There's no depth to their conversation. So you don't know what to talk about. Here's a few suggestions. Talk about current events. Talk about what you like and don't like, and maybe music or moods, movies or TV shows or hobbies and food. That's always a good one. Food is always a good topic. You could talk about where you grew up, how things were during that time, socially, politically, what were the big things that were happening that you were involved in maybe as a teen or whatever. Just basic, just kind of like benign stuff that doesn't reveal too much about you, and it's not overly personal. That's very important. So I hope this explains what transparency is and how it works, and the pros, cons, and pitfalls and benefits of it. Try to cover everything in one video. Of course, if you have questions, feel free to type them in the comment section below. I'll try to get to them. But I want to thank you for watching. Please hit that subscription button for the Deborrah channel before you get up out of here. And take your time to search through the channel using whatever keyword you have for any of the 1,200 videos that are available to educate you about yourself and about relationships. See you on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. for What the Fuck Tuesday. We're back on Tuesdays. See you then. Bye-bye. What the narcs do with the data that they collect from you? Well, lots of things. If you made the mistake of sharing your deepest desires, he's going to take them and twist them around. Or maybe he's going to teach them.